Welcome to Will Talks. Today, we have with us an amazing gentleman, a person who's been working in the field of education reform. In fact, he's somebody who's been working in the backgrounds when it comes to education. Over 22 years of experience in strategic education design. So many schools go to him and ask him, hey, we are starting a new school. Or so many entrepreneurs go to him and say, we are starting a new school. We need somebody who understands education, understands learning, and understands infrastructure management. And that's how, they get in touch with Mr. Yeshwanth Raj Parasmal. And he has been someone that I have been actively following for several years now. I had the lovely opportunity to meeting him maybe about 8 years ago when he was building a terrific school somewhere in Bhiwandi, in Bhiwandi near Mumbai. And that school is an amazing school, and that is going to be another podcast. However, I'm so glad and happy to tell you that Yashwant has now started this absolutely incredible model of education when the pandemic hit. And I want him to tell you more about his expeditions, experiments, journeys, pilots, call it whatever you want to call it. But Yashwant is a man who is changing the way children are going to learn in this country. Hi, and thank you for coming and helping us, get into this conversation. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you come from. Tell us your village name if you want to. Tell us your class teacher's name if you want to. And just lay the context of what the next, 30, 40 minutes is going to be like.
Thanks, Willie. I'm equally excited to be on this podcast. About me, I've been an educationist all throughout. I've started my career with Jain Group of Institutions in Bangalore under Mr. Chenraj Jain, whom I have a lot of regards as my guru. He's mentored me literally to be what I am today. It's been a fantastic journey. I mean, how I got into education is a really interesting story. So during my college days with the graduation, I always wanted to work with the big four, right? Consulting firm, corporate career, do my MBA with IIMs and others. But then I had a first round of interview, one I'll not name the company. And then I realized I'm not going to be fit for this corporate world, boss. I mean, because you have to be cutthroat, right? You have to be thorough professional. And I learned that professionalism means absence of emotion. And being an emotional person I said, no, I don't want to build a career around such a path where I have to be, absolutely cutthroat in my approach and be driven by numbers, metrics, profits, and at a cost of people, values, and relationships. And that's where I met Mr. Chenraj Jain. Incidentally, I also did my graduation in the same college, with the Jain College. I did my 11th and 12th with him, and I was quite impressed with what he was building for the society as a whole. So immediately after the graduation, I went to him. I said, I want to work with him. And the first day, my task was defined. And I asked him for my JD, right? I mean, I'm coming from two different experiences, right? One with a corporate structure, where they gave me a 6 pages JD and everything. And this gentleman comes, Mr. Chenraj, and tells me, your job description is that you have to throw seeds as you walk on the path of the jungle and water them so that people behind you can see flowers when they bloom.
Wow.
I said, what kind of JD is this? And he couldn't make a sense of it. I did not dare to ask him for the explanation, but I did realize what I was doing later, helping the group to set up different institutions. And even today, I mean, I build institutions, manage it, set up the structures, systems, and then hand over to the teams to manage the entire school, right? And that's exactly till date that I'm doing. But he was absolutely visionary in terms of what. And I've done everything, right? Right from, we used to have that OHP projectors in those days in colleges. So go about, set up the OHPs also in the class, understand the teacher, sometimes, just go and sit and observe classes and, run around, do all the work probably, which is just menial. But that really helped me to grow very fast. I mean, within 3 years, I was promoted to be the Chief Operations Officer. And setting up a private university in Chhattisgarh. I was selected because nobody was willing to leave Bangalore and go to Chhattisgarh. He said, you have to go, and then you have to go on like day after tomorrow, right? And initially he said 1 week. It got extended to 1 month, and here it is. I mean, I've moved to Raipur, Chhattisgarh from Bangalore way back in 2003. And it's been my home now since that particular time. I mean, yes, it's been a fascinating journey. working with educational projects, people, meeting parents and students across has been a fantastic
So
work so far.
you have been somebody who has been working across the board when it comes to education. Day schools, boarding schools, high-end schools, mid-segment schools, international schools, private universities, set up, running, establishing systems, processes, and then giving it on. In many cases like build, operate, transfer, or maybe just
Correct.
build, set
Yeah.
up, transfer, or something like that. And you've seen the whole thing. You've seen every model that has probably been
Been there.
experimented here. What if I have to ask you like a crazy question, and I'm thinking through like what do you think about schools today in India makes you smile or makes you laugh or makes you wonder? Is there anything like that comes to like one thing for me is like a lot of schools say learning. Learning is very important, but they never keep time for reteaching. They never keep time for changing the curriculum. For example, they will create a timetable in the beginning of the year and never change it for a whole year. So if they have not kept time for it, how will they make it happen?
Make it happen.
Or the fact that many teachers don't even have the opportunity to select the curriculum for their own books, for their own classes, or they don't have the option to select training that they. So these are things that in a way makes me kind of smile or laugh or wonder. Is there anything that you
See, incidentally, I was, way back in 2006, I went to UK to do my MBA in education management from University of Southampton. And Professor John, who was the head of the department in education, he invited us to his office, right, one day. And he said, when you come, Yeshwanth, I'm going to show you, I have a pet dog, right? And I have taught him how to speak English. I was like fascinated, but UK
London में
and
सब कुछ चलता
कुछ भी हो सकता है. So we were all quite excited. We had a couple of other friends as well, all working in education space. And we went to his house, right? I mean, we had tea and, we were curious, forget about the tea and all. Shows the dog who can speak English. And he brings that dog, I mean, whatever name, I'm forgetting the name right now, but he says, hi, how are you? Can you say hello? And the dog is dog.
Yeah.
He's not going to speak English. And he just barked and whims and all this. And he goes, and we started laughing. So what is this, John? I mean, you said that you have taught this dog how to speak English. He says, I have taught. He did not learn.
Oh.
And he actually wanted to make us understand this lesson. This is what happens in the education sector. The teacher thinks that he is taught,
मैंने मेरा काम कर दिया.
पढ़ा दिया, हो गया. But बच्चे ने सीखा कि नहीं? How do you assess learning, right? I mean, that's the outcomes of the teaching is not measured at all. And that's the saddest part of what happens in schools. I would not really single out India. I think this is a problem across the world, where the learning outcomes are not measured, because that's the toughest thing, right? I mean, it's easy to measure how many hours the teacher has taught, right? I mean, we all have a workload, 24, 30 periods he's taken, syllabus complete ho gaya, but what is the outcome of that? Has the student learned? And in general, you get a report card saying that you got 80 out of 100. What does that mean? I mean, is 80 good enough for me to say that the child has learned that concept, or is 60 good enough, or is it 90 out of 100 or 100 out of 100? There are absolutely no benchmarks, no outcome-focused approach in the learning, and that's what we're trying to change with the 21K school.
Yeah, so I think like this pandemic just created amazing experiences for parents. Suddenly, like what is that serial? Yeah, I think Kyunki Saas Bhi Bahu Thi, right? That got replaced by live streaming of the classroom into the home, and suddenly it becomes center stage, right? And in many houses, the Google Meet or the Zoom was like projected on the LED TV, and bang, like that teacher who was never visible to the parent, or the educational experience that their child was receiving was never exhibited to parents. True. है ना? And there was nothing they could do about it. And I think that's when a lot of parents started thinking कि यार
कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. Yeah, I think one good thing of this, I mean, also it's a black swan event, but it did open up the black box of the school. I mean, even today, the schools are absolutely a black box, right? I mean, you don't know what's happening inside the school. I mean, I was very clear when I had my child, Hriday was born, that I'm not going to put him to a school. वो just कहते हैं ना हलवाई अपनी मिठाई नहीं खाता. So it was the same thing with me, and we wanted to homeschool him. We were very sure, both me and my wife are into the education space, and we never wanted him to go to a school. Because I think, yeah, I mean, I as a parent would be very anxious to know that he's going to spend 8 hours in a school and I have no clue of what happens with him.
Yeah.
Is he being treated well? Is he learning? Is he being actively engaged? Is he occupied? Is he socializing with other friends? Or is he just, wailing his time out?
And this is not about being a controlling parent.
No.
This
I
is
don't
not
think.
at all about
Absolutely
being a controlling
not.
parent.
Right.
This is just about knowing, right? I mean, because you want to
Just
help.
being aware. Correct.
You know?
And also, just to keep a track, right? I mean, if there are course corrections, what could be done, it could be done immediately, right? I mean, my favorite questions when I go to the school is ask the teachers, right? How do you know the child is learning? And believe me, I've never got the right answer. And I don't think even I know the answer. But with data, at least, today we are able to put some sense around that question, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the teachers can objectively say that, this child is learning, this child is progressing. At concepts level, what is it that the child is weak? I mean, this is the kind of an intervention that we need for students if they really want to make a difference to the child's learning. Otherwise, to pass to har koi hota hai.
Pass to sab hota hai.
उसमें there's
The
nothing.
other thing is there is this whole management theory which says what gets measured, whatever gets measured gets done.
Done.
And if you are measuring teacher absence, if you are measuring teacher time पे आ रहा है कि नहीं, if you are measuring आज इतना homework दिया कि नहीं, if you are measuring इतने assignments हुए कि नहीं, those are the things that is getting done.
Correct.
If you are not measuring how much is the child learning, depth of understanding, if you are not measuring application of knowledge,
True.
then it might not get intentionally done.
There
मिला
is
तो
no way.
lottery.
हाँ. Otherwise, the performance appraisal system, mark sheet and all is really just hogwash, right?
Exactly.
Because, see, what we don't realize as educators is that no child is going to study in the same grade again, right?
Yeah.
If the child is in grade 2, for him that year is going to only pass once in a year, right? Once in his lifetime. So do we really expect him to come back to grade 2 and say that, boss, I mean, you did not learn certain concepts well, go back to grade 2 and study those concepts? It's not going to happen. And the child is at loss because he does not know what is his fault, right? I mean, he's just a part of a user or the system into the schooling, right? I mean, we are really, as a society, we are failing our kids today. The demographic dividend that we speak about and we so proudly, showcase to the world could become a demographic burden. I mean, we want to create what kind of society we want to build, what kind of values that we want to build, what kind of skills that we want to build. And these are the questions, hard questions, difficult questions, which are not being answered.
Is it really true that a lot of graduates that actually come out of school, college, higher education is not really equipped with the employability skills?
Oh yeah, of course. There's a lot of data research companies have spoken about it, and I think a part of it should start right from the way the preschools and the primary school happens in the country, right? Whether it's about language skills, understanding the concepts. See, there was one beautiful experience out of my UK, right? I mean, I had a subject on financial accounting. As a management student, I was expected, the way I would have studied in my graduation, that the professor would ask us to prepare the balance sheets and others, right? Trial balance, accounts and others. The professor came with a set of annual reports, gave it to one student. I said, now read the balance sheet. I said, what do you mean by read the balance sheet? I mean, it's unheard of it. At least in those times in India, even the management graduates were asked to prepare the balance sheet. I said, you're a manager, you're a leader, business leader. You're not going to sit and prepare a balance sheet, right? Somebody else is going to prepare, but you should be able to analyze those reports. Look at the foresight which they have in terms of the skills, right? I mean, even today we are so hell-bent upon whether the child has understood the concept of water cycle. Water cycle is not important, boss. I mean, it's developing the scientific thinking. And if he doesn't understand water cycle, it's okay. I mean, but has he understood the science behind it? What are the applications of that knowledge, right? I mean, it's completely lost. I mean, art is not about just scribbling something, right? It's appreciating the art, developing that sense of aesthetics. I mean, today I still believe that, the companies like iPhone and others which were developed, right? Is it an art and science? It's a play of both, right? I mean, when there's a lot of stories about Steve Jobs where how particular he was about selecting the font also.
Yeah. So
Now,
much intention.
that can't come in if you don't have that aesthetic sense developed right from your early years.
And many parents think ये तो gift है. भगवान का देन है. But I don't think it is that. I think it can be nurtured. Of course, God blesses us with innate potentialities, but it needs to be nurtured. I'll tell you something. A lot of people during the lockdown said online कुछ नहीं होता है. Online कोई कुछ नहीं सीख सकता है. It is all a sham. It is all hogwash. कुछ नहीं होता है. Nothing. Things will snap back the minute online goes. Everything. Whatever said and done, I want to give you my personal testimony.
Sure. Yeah.
मेरे को I don't know. Excuse my मेरे को. This is all Bombay language. Bombay guy attempting to speak Hindi. So the thing is, I am not a musician. I don't know to read music. I don't know to write music. I don't know to play music. Okay, I enjoy music. I am not a singer, right?
Correct.
And neither is my wife. My daughter joined Zoom singing classes, and now she has cleared 3 levels of Trinity.
Oh, fantastic.
My daughter joined Zoom-based piano classes.
Zoom-based piano
Zoom-based
classes.
piano classes.
That's wonderful.
Piano. Like the most tactile thing you could think about. And she's cleared 2 levels of Trinity and Rock School.
Awesome.
I'm like, कौन बोला नहीं सीख सकता है online? It's not like I am teaching or my wife is teaching. We are only sitting in awe. There's some Russian teacher who's teaching her. There's some teacher from Bangalore who's teaching her. Now, I live in 2 hours away from Mumbai. Maximum I can access talent
True.
is in a 2-kilometer radius where I can come fatafat, take her somewhere, go sit somewhere, get her back. Today she's independent on her own and she's learning. She knows she's learning and she's confident.
And these are the skills which is required for the future, right? And
Like if you can learn piano, you can't learn math. I mean, this is my personal testimony. What's your story like? And I know you build like this crazy business around that and all that. But just this.
So when we started with 21K school, right? I mean, we wanted to use technology to
What is
improve
this
the learning
21K
outcomes.
school? People may not know about it.
Sure. Right. So 21K school is a completely virtual school. Unlike most other schools, we don't have physical campus, we don't have classrooms, we don't have playgrounds, labs, facilities, and others. It's a completely virtual school. And it's a reinvented model of the physical schooling where the experience and the learning outcomes are similar, probably better, but in a completely different context. So by virtue of being online, we are able to bring students from different cities and different countries in a common classrooms, taught by teachers again from a different city. Now, for a student, he's now interacting with a global audience. So we have about 7,000 students from 72 countries across 500 cities in India.
Say that again, please.
So I know.
This is like a truly international school.
Yeah, I mean, in a truest form. So we have students from 72 countries, 500 cities across India, incorporating about 24 nationalities. Totally 7,200 students who are studying full-time with us. And this is just our 3rd academic year.
Wow. And as an educator myself, I can say it's brilliant. You know why? Because there are only so many metros.
Right.
There are only so many great teachers who have so much time.
True.
And think about those people, in those the 3 hour away from a metro.
Exactly.
Where you don't have a good teacher.
Yeah, that's the point.
I mean, this is access. This is access to education plus. At least that is the way I look at it.
Again, it's also equity, right? I mean, see, typically because I've stayed in both Bangalore
For
and
parents who
Raipur,
may not
right?
understand what equity in education is, would you like to talk more about?
I'll give my personal example, right? I mean, since I've stayed in Bangalore and Raipur, and obviously in the smaller towns and cities, the quality of education, I'm not talking about the infrastructure, the access to good quality teachers, right? I mean, they simply don't have. It's very difficult to find a good proper English speaking teacher in some of the smaller towns, right? And I think that's true for most of the Indian. Apart from 10 or 12 cities, I really don't think there are good schools in the other cities in India. Now, how do you solve this? I mean, I think from a child perspective, yeah, I mean, is it my fault that I was born in a small place like Mathura or Meerut or some other place? I mean,
It's
right
not
from the
the
place of
child's
his
fault.
birth, right? I mean, he's at a disadvantage. If he's born in Bangalore or Bombay versus a smaller town, right? He says, boss, I mean, I don't have access to good quality school. What do the parents do? What do the childs do? I mean, not everybody can relocate to an urban metro city. And how many of them can continue to just do homeschooling without proper guidance and everything, right? So we're trying to also make this equitable, right? I mean, today we have students from tier 2, tier 3, tier 1 and international to study in the same classroom without knowing about the backgrounds, without judging each other. We have people with physical disabilities, medical conditions actively participating without being judged and being asked. So no longer the focus is on marks, right? It's about how are you engaging, how are you learning the concepts. It's about you as a person on your learning journey, which we call it as personalization. And that changes the game, everything, right? I mean, I'm not good at maths. I'm okay to have 60 out of 100. But if I'm good in art, let me do the best there.
You know, something that comes to mind when you tell this, it reminds me of my own schooling days. I'll tell you why. Because when I went to school, okay, not very long ago, when I went to school, I did not know who was rich or who was poor. I did not know. I don't know किसका बिल्डर का चाइल्ड है या रेस्टोरेंट ओनर का चाइल्ड है या टीचर का चाइल्ड. नो, आई डिड नॉट नो. It was so, we were so uniform. We were one. Okay. In today's schools, they know कौन सा गाड़ी में आता है,
हाँ,
कौन सा फोन लेके आता
कौन
है,
सा ब्रांड का शूज
कौन सा ब्रांड का शूज पहनता है. It's become so bad in a way.
Correct.
कौन सा स्कूल में जाता है.
Yes.
Because the fee points are also so segregated.
Segregated.
Which school you go to. So many things are there today that make you sometimes, you know, they put you in place. And that is what education should be, especially in children. So when you said that, no, in my class, nobody knows.
Nobody knows, right?
You know, maximum they'll know if you have a good internet or no.
See, interestingly, I just met one of our parents, right, recently, and her daughter has been studying with us for last 2 years. She's, I think, in KG2. And the parent was so surprised because they live in a gated community that there was a birthday party, right, at a family. And then she saw the watchman's son sitting and he was not invited, obviously. And she could not understand why is this child left out. She went, pulled the person's child, come with me to the party. They went and nobody could stop them, right? Because they were simply at awe in terms of to see that kind of an emotional connect and that empathy which this child has. Because she's never been taught saying that this child should not be in this birthday party.
You know, school is a microcosm of society.
Yeah.
It's a little trainer कि दुनिया क्या है.
Yeah.
You know,
In a good or wrong way.
yeah, both will come through. Good and the not so good will come through.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is like the village of a child. There was a movie called The Village, where there was a child and then this whole village kept them inside so that they don't get affected by the bad of the world.
Okay.
Yeah, beautiful. It immediately tells you like how schooling, you know, education is actually a training program for the world.
True.
It's the world induction program.
Yeah.
You know, and how a different school creates different people. It creates a school of thought. It creates a different person.
Absolutely.
And I can believe that because in a normal school, in a physical school, when a child has to go to a counselor, the whole class will tease the child.
Exactly. Yeah.
When a child has to go and meet remedial,
Right.
and in something like this,
We've changed it. Trust me, I mean, wish I could have shown you the personalized learning platform and others. The remedial is not remedial. We use it in a conversing language, but the child would never know that, the child is going through a remedial. So in my school, it's quite possible that in grade 4, right, some students are solving grade 6 problems, some are still solving grade 2 without being judged, without being affected by in terms of the emotional aspect of it, that I am a weak one. I mean, a person who's weak in maths may be very strong with language, right? I mean, you need to play on the strengths rather than highlight on the things. So what we have done, Willie, is that we have defined a minimum learning threshold, and that needs to be crossed by every child at each unit level. We don't wait for the term two to say that, okay, this child is failing, this child is scores. I mean, why should anybody get less than the minimum learning outcome, right? And because we're using technology, we are able to map the progress almost like on a real time basis. And so do the parents. They get a beautiful dashboard. They know they can track the home assignments, attendance, engagement, learning, and build into a beautiful learning measurable outcome. And teaching, though, I'm sure that every teacher is a great teacher. I mean, I don't think because of any reason any teacher wants to do bad, right? I mean, they're into the teaching profession because they are good. It's just that the circumstances, right? Not getting access to technology tools. I'm not sure if you remember that story which was published highly during the pandemic, where one teacher had used fridge's glass tray,
Oh, yeah,
portrait
yeah,
something, and the camera.
Yeah.
People were really appreciating, right? I mean, I left a comment and I was criticized also, but
No,
I
trollers.
I was really pained.
What was that?
I mean,
Why did they
why
get off
do
the-
the teachers don't have access to technology? Why should she have to struggle using the fridge tray, mobile and camera and other things? I mean, is it really possible to conduct a class on a small mobile? And then we criticize on YouTube and others saying that, teachers are not doing a good job. Boss, I mean, you've not given them the resources.
And they're not trained for it.
They're not trained for it. They've not been given. You should appreciate what they are doing. But look at the state of our teachers in India. I mean, why are they not really respected? Why are they not well paid? Why are they not given the right skills and platforms, right, in the society? I mean, you look at the teachers in any other country, they're probably second or the third highest paying in the country across all the professions. In India, it's not the case. And then we happily come back and criticize that, I mean, the fees are lying, the profiteering. I'm sure you would have heard
Oh my
all those things saying that, whatever is the level of the school, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even a school which charges 12 lakhs and a school which charges 12,000 per annum, all of them are criticized that you're making profit. But, I mean, you have to make profit because you need to invest into the teachers' resources,
be
develop.
sustainable,
Right?
no?
I mean, people don't understand.
What's
that.
the kind of parent do you think should be thinking of online schooling?
Our parents, possibly, I would put them into three buckets. One is the norm questioners, right? I mean, the parents who are informed, who want to come out of that black box of a school environment, who are not happy with what is happening in the physical school because there's no transparency in what's happening, whether it's teaching, quality, metrics, and whatever other things, right? The second is those who know that schooling, we have probably overemphasized on the need for schooling in our society. I mean, what is the role of schooling really? I mean, does it really requires that you spend about 8 hours, that is, 8 hours plus some time for the travel into the schooling? I mean, is it the be all and the whole of the first 16 years of your life? I don't think so. I think we've given too much of power to what the schooling as a concept is, knowing the fact that it is still not skill based, right? And there are skills that we're talking about: creativity, imagination, collaboration, critical thinking. And then it's not covered in the school syllabus because these are the difficult things to measure. It's easy for me to measure the child solving 2 plus 2, right? But the ability to visualize maths and then to comprehend and analytically solve those problems, I can't measure. So it's not gets tested.
And the third kind of parent I also feel is probably that parent who, like Chinraj ji called you, and said, "Ek hafte ke liye." Like he has this opportunity, or he or she has that opportunity to, get a better job in a different city, but is not taking that call because for want of good quality education.
Right.
And I think in India, we've been able to solve to a great extent the telecom and bandwidth problem.
Oh, absolutely. To be honest, we've never come across the issue of bandwidth. We've had issues with the power not available for the power cut, or not really. So, in fact, this year we have given, there's a beautiful company which provides UPS inverter for modems.
Achha.
So, we've given to all our teachers also. So, power is a bigger issue than really modem bandwidth. And we have 4 students from
Do you
Americas.
know that in the US, like 60 to 70% of schools also don't have internet? Yeah,
Is it?
like you won't believe it.
I knew, but not that high
It is
percentage.
so huge.
70%.
And bandwidth is so expensive.
Is expensive.
It's so expensive.
Correct. Yeah.
And Indians, we are blessed
Blessed.
with 4G, now 5G. I mean, with all the scams, we still, phone chalta hai.
Phone chalta hai, and it's a good speed.
Yeah.
With the Geo Fiber, Airtel, Vodafone,
These are the
and
enabling
others, fantastic.
technologies.
Yeah,
These are the
absolutely.
enabling
Yeah.
technologies that are making all this happen. So I think that social mobility, that access to equitable education, I think is going to open up.
Now is the time to leverage our technology. I mean, to make India. See, I met one of my friend, right? I mean, they're local Karnataka born. They've been living abroad in Germany. And what is the sad thing? He said that I want to teach Kannada to my son, and I've not been able to teach. Who's going to teach Kannada in Germany? Online classes with freelance tutors has been an expensive proposition, doesn't work, quality is not measured, and others. So he signed up with us. He's taking the schooling, which saves again, considerable amount with him. Plus, he's opted second language as Kannada. What a phenomenal thing. I mean, think of it. I mean, you know what, really very interesting thing. First year we did marketing in India. Second year we started marketing in Middle East, Africa, and other countries. And our primary focus program was Cambridge and Edexcel once we got those affiliations. People used to look at the ad, come back and sign up for the Indian curriculum. I was like amazed.
Wow.
I mean, we
You're
had
putting
never
Indian
thought
teachers
that
on
Indian
the
curriculum.
global map.
People from Korea, Russia, Japan, especially the non-English speaking countries, they have a tremendous respect for Indian curriculum. They know that English is good, maths is focus, science is a focus. IIT, IIM has established that. IIT se pass out bacha to they have studied in Indian schools only.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know something, when you go to smaller industrial towns, and if you ask the people there, they say South Indian
Yeah.
should teach maths and science.
Science. Yeah.
I mean, there are preferences. There is consumer behavior that way. What you are doing is putting Indian teaching, Indian curriculum, Indian content,
True.
Indian teachers on a global map. And people are subscribing.
So we have Russians who are taking Hindi as a second language.
Oh,
And when I spoke to the parent, why, just was curious to understand. She says it's the fifth largest English language spoken in the world. Why shouldn't I learn Hindi?
and Shah Rukh Khan is a big hit, by the way. in Russia.
See, I mean, so somewhere I think, we as an Indian, right, in terms of the policy, government and all, we need to give more power to what we are doing. I mean, why is, when certain boards internationally are available across 100, 150 countries, why not Indian curriculum? Why not CBSE? Why not ICSE? I mean, just that, we have a golden window of opportunity open to take it to a global level.
Just listening to you, my heart swells up with pride.
But
I suddenly feel like, wow, when others can see the value in
Correct.
what I do
yeah.
as an Indian teacher,
Ah.
why am I running international curriculum?
That's the problem. Unless some foreigner doesn't come and corroborate what we are doing, right? We don't believe in ourselves.
The imposter syndrome. But that is such amazing insight. Is there any other quick, tiny little insights you want to share across this? Anything that comes to mind?
There are a lot of things which is happening
So
with the
anecdotal,
education, with the education space systems, and bringing into the coding platform, learning.
Children
People
save
also
time,
sees-
no?
People save time,
Energy.
energies. They're less stressed. They get a good sleep.
Yeah.
There's one parent who chose 21K school because bacha ghar ka khana khayega. So there are a lot of different reasons.
9 o'clock school, they can wake up at
They can
8:30.
wake up. Not at 8:30. And yeah, I'm not sure if the students wake up, but at least not sleep at 12 and then
Yeah.
wake up at 6 types, right? I mean, because the students are definitely less stressed, and that's why they are more creative. They have more energy to do what they are doing. A couple of our students have already published their books, which is available on Amazon. There's a grade 2 student who's developed an app, which is again published it on iOS and Android platform. People running, YouTube channels is quite common in our school.
And creatorship is a big thing.
Creatorship is writing content, and students doing podcasts, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we have our own
मैं तो
in-house
40 की उम्र में
students.
कर रहा हूँ.
And this one podcast which we had with the other co-founder students, right? And they're all techies. They're all from different tech backgrounds. and he was saying about something about a particular program which is new in USA and others, and he said probably you would not have learned about it. And the student says, yes, I've been practicing for some time.
Wow.
He's a grade 8 student.
Wow.
And he says that I'm able to do this because I have free time. Yeah? Otherwise, I'm not bound by that syllabus, curriculum syndrome, lesson A, exam A, test
Just
A,
running
travel,
like
tuitions,
the mouse
kuch bhi
running.
nahi hai.
Yeah, you're not a. I mean, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and his name is Akshay, and he was telling us that most people complain about one thing: time nahi hai. Time nahi hai. Time nahi hai. काम बहुत है, time nahi. And Akshay's response to that is, boss, time उतना ही है सबके पास.
सबके पास, exactly.
Skills बढ़ाओ. And I think that's what you're doing. You're allowing accelerated learning to happen, and I think you're allowing for other opportunities to learn and build social. So I don't think, as a parent, I mean, by the way, I just want to tell you, my kids are also homeschooled. So as a parent, you know, what I want to say is this, that we shouldn't be sitting down and thinking about whether ये model सही है कि नहीं, ये model का क्या problems है, ये model चलता है या नहीं चलता है, या ये model. We should ask ourselves that question, you know, कि will it work for me? मेरे लिए चलता है क्या? If it works for me, and if it solves the problems I have today, be with logistics or quality of teaching or transparency, then this is for me. ये मेरा वाला education है.
True.
You know, in that sense. So.
No, we are changing that really. See, obviously, not everybody who comes inquires takes admission, right? I mean, because we have our own parameters also of enrolling. But what is definitely happening once they hear, talk to our admission counselors, they go back to the physical school and they are no longer getting impressed just by building and facilities. They have been asking really tough, real questions around teachers' quality, assessments, data, and everything, right? And that is changing, because I spoke to a couple of principals and they said, you're making life difficult for all of us, right? Because पहले क्या होता था, building दिखाओ, admission ले लो.
PQRS
now
plot,
parents are PQRS. Now the things are changing.
Recognition number.
Now parents are going back and asking, what can I? Because you know, in the online space, the often we get a question is, can I watch a demo? I said, would you do this in a physical school?
तो कभी नहीं किया.
Has any parent come to you and said, can I attend one school? No. I mean, I've never seen in 20 years, right? They have been asking us. I said, yes, you can watch.
Coaching classes they last.
Coaching classes. They're going back to the physical schools and now asking the same thing. Yeah, I don't know what.
At least they're asking questions that matter.
Asking the questions that matters. The parents are also now changing their thoughts. You know, they're speaking about learning outcomes. They're speaking about what is real education, right? And the sad thing is that parents don't realize that 80% of the fees in the international schools they're paying is for the infrastructure.
Rent.
Swimming pool.
Stallions.
But this will change. See, I'm sure there are a lot of people coming out with the online schools focused. I mean, they're doing fantastic work in the physical school space as well. The likes of Krishnamurti Foundation schools,
of course.
or the things, you know, there's a lot of work happening. But I think we need that to change across at a society levels. Different models.
You know, we cannot say we are replacing any model.
Absolutely
we just need different models, because people have different problems and they need different solutions. We shouldn't be looking at 100% solution wala situation. We should look at multiple small 5%, 10% solutions.
Give more choice and voice to the parents and students. Yeah, what's the problem? I mean, let him choose.
That was amazing speaking to you, and I have learned so much for this conversation. I'm going back with more pride for the work that we do in terms of educators. I love the way you put things across today. And it just to me looks like, you know, our next podcast should be 3 hours long.
Need to get in more energy then. I'm sure a lot of energy comes from you.
And just the sheer, quantum of work that you've done just gives us so much of, just so many things to talk about and think about. And I think just looking at your work, a lot of physical schools can also improve their quality of services. This is not an either or, this is an and situation.
Hey, a lot of physical schools are actually collaborating, partnering with us, and we're quite open in sharing our technology know-how with anybody and everyone, right? I mean, it's just not something that, you know, we don't want to create another black box with online schooling.
Exactly. I love what you're doing. More power to you. And I really hope we come and do another podcast with you very soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Right.